Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down a NASCAR Cup Series slate at Darlington for the Southern 500. This is one of the biggest races of the year. It's the first race of the playoffs too, so got a lot of stuff to get into today. I'm really excited to break down this slate for you today. I think this is going to be a very good race. But before I do, if you're new to this channel, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment, turn on notification bell. All those things really help me grow. We've had a lot of growth throughout NASCAR season and NBA season, and NFL starts next week. I'll be starting to come out with videos on Monday for NFL. That's in like 3 days. So yeah, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to get content for all those sports. If you want to get more of my content, you can subscribe to my Patreon. For only $10 a month, you're going to get, for all three series combined, all three series, only $10 a month, you're going to get the spreadsheet that will show after I go over this sheet. You'll get this too, but this isn't as detailed, obviously, along with all the stats you need to know, along with projections, along with for DraftKings and FanDuel, along with a salary tier rankings, along with a daily article, or an article for every single race, a cash core, injury. I always about to say injury notes, and that's for NBA only. So, because there is no injury notes in NASCAR. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, be sure to check out that. Only $10 a month, all three series combined. It's really good content, I believe. So, if you want to follow me on social media, Twitter's at DFS Instagram's at @NateLane_. Just love talking about sports. I'll talk about NASCAR, not as much as other sports, but during the races, I usually tweet out some NASCAR stuff. So, and I always like to have conversation. If you have questions about anything about DraftKings related, I'll answer them over there too. So be sure to check that out. All right, I think that's really it. Let's get into this breakdown. And we're going to start today like we started with Talladega with the past optimal lineups. I have 3 of the last 4 Darlington races. I did not include the second race from Darlington from this year because that was the race. Well, it won and ended under rain, but I don't think that was as big of a deal because there was only like 25 laps left. And that was a race where the whole field was like inverted, and I hate that. Like that means you get like the top tier drivers starting in the back, and like it skews everything in my opinion. So I went from the first Darlington race this year and then the last 2 Southern 500s. And so the first thing I noticed is that in every single line there's a driver that starts in the top 5. So that's going to be key. And for the most part, they led all the laps or a lot of laps. Like here we go. The race in 2020, Bowman started second, he led 41. Kurt Busch started 4th, he led 94. Kyle Larson started second, and he led 284. So I think you do want to have some driver that starts in the top 5, and we'll look at the top 5 today. There's some good drivers starting up there, so don't worry about that. You'll be able to find drivers that are going to lead laps. And then there was an average of 1.66 in the top 12, so that includes the top 5. But like you had Harvick here starting 6th, he's inside the top 12 in an optimal lineup. And then down here we have Logano and starting 8th. So you're probably going to want to have at least 1 to 2 drivers that start inside the top 12. I'd probably put 1 in the top 5 and another one somewhere between like 6 to 12. I think that's probably the way to go. And then we had the next group starting 13 to 25th. We had an average of exactly 2 in all 3. So here we had Kurt Busch starting 22nd. Then we had Eric Jones starting 15th, won that race with 79 laps. Matt Benedetto starting 19th, Menard starting 17th, and then we had Keselowski starting 13th, and Buescher starting 19th. So, 13 to 25 looks to be a range where you're probably going to want to get 2 to 3 drivers in every single lineup in that range, especially now with like the way this done the starting lineups. And then 26 to 40, we've had an average of 2.33 guys to start 26 to 40th. Tyler Reddick starts 29th. John Hunter Nemechek 34th. Ty Dillon 33rd. Then we had Kyle Busch 33rd, where he led 118 laps. Bubba Wallace 28th. Jamie McMurray 31st. And Ty Dillon 28th. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to want to get 2 to 3 guys starting in the back. I mean, this is a track where a lot of times the narrative is it's so hard to pass here, which is true. It is a hard track to pass that. But somehow in the optimal lineups, there's always a ton of guys start really towards the back. So, I don't think that should be like, oh, it's hard to pass here. I'm just going to start guys that start towards the front. I don't think that's the way to go. It is a long race. It's a 500-mile race. There's going to be accidents at Darlington. So, yeah, I would say that I would probably try to get 1 guy starting in the top 5, another one in the next like 6, 7, between 6 and 12. Then I'd probably get like 2 guys in 13 to 25 range, and then 2 to 3 and it's 26 to 40. Like you could make it 3 13 to 25 and 1 26 to 40, or 3 26 to 40, 1 13 to 25, something like that. But I would make sure to probably have at least 2 drivers starting in that top 12, because that is a thing that does seem to happen a lot. So that's for taking down tournaments. Cash is different, obviously, but that's for taking down tournaments. I mean, those are the optimal lineups from the last 3 races. So yeah, I think that's all I got to say on the optimal lineup. So let's get into the driver by driver, which I know is what everyone really wants to hear. They want to hear the picks and if it's going to load. All right, stupid. So we'll start off with Denny Hamlin. He's the most expensive driver on DraftKings. 11,400 starts second. Hamlin's historically been good here, but the last few races he hasn't. Only the 10th best average finish at Darlington in the last 2 years, including this year. 6th best at steep tracks, 6th best at intermediates. When we go to lap sled, he does only have 23 laps sled the last 3 years at Darlington, which is a little surprising considering how great he's been in the past. And he did win this race, the second Darlington race this year, where he did lead a lot of laps. I didn't put that one in here, but, well, no, I'm sorry. That is in here. That optimal lineup wasn't in here. Yeah, he didn't lead a ton of laps in that race, but he won. 761 at steep tracks, 920 at intermediates. In the last 5 races, Denny Hamlin has an average finish of 6, an average position of 6.4, and 147 laps led. I mean, Denny Hamlin's just been, him and Harvick have been the class of the field this year, so they've just been dominating pretty much every race. And I think that Denny Hamlin is going to be in position to dominate again. Starts second. That's one of those guys that pick someone and starts in the top 5. Well, if there's one guy in the top 5 I really want to get to, it's going to be Hamlin. I mean, we just know the success here is good. We know he's been fast all year, so he's definitely someone I want to go after. Next, we have Kevin Harvick starting 8th place and $10,900. All right, here you go. First best average finish at Darlington. 3rd best at steep tracks. Best average finish at intermediate tracks. Best average position at all 3 of those. We go to lap sled, 169 at Darlington. That's the most. 1,470 at steep tracks. That's the most. Intermediates, 3,196. That's the most. Won this race earlier this year, or the Darlington race earlier this year. Last 5 races, average finish 4.8. Average position 7. 405 laps led. That's like almost 300 more than anyone else. Hamlin's at 142nd, the next most. Harvick has been dominant this year. He has been so good this year. And, I mean, we go to a track where he's just had a ton of success. He starts 8th. He's someone I want a ton of exposure to. Probably my favorite stud to play out of all of them this week. He's just so good at this track. And we saw him win one earlier this year. And in the second race, he had a good run. Didn't do as well, but he still had a good run. So, yeah, I think Kevin Harvick is a fantastic play once again. Chase Elliott starts on the pole, $10,600. He's definitely someone I do want some exposure to as well. We saw Chase Elliott. In my opinion, I think Chase Elliott had the best car in the second Darlington race earlier this year. And then he got wrecked by Kyle Busch, and that ruined his day. But he was in, I think, 2nd or 3rd when that happened. And in my opinion, he was the fastest car at the point. I think he would have won the race. I think he had a faster car than the guys in front of him, which I think were... One of them was Hamlin, obviously. Maybe he wasn't 2nd. I think Kyle Busch might have been in 3rd. So it was Hamlin, I believe. So I think he would have won that race personally. So we've seen him run well here. He does have the 9th best average finish at Darlington, 13th best at steep tracks, 10th best at intermediate. So maybe not the best numbers overall. Only 9 laps led at Darlington in the last 2 years. But in the last 5 races, he hasn't been running well either. An average finish at 18.2, average position at 18.6, and 0 laps led. That's worrisome. But I still do think Chase Elliott still looks out as a pretty solid option here, just because he does start on the pole. Historically, though, the pole sitter has not run well at Darlington. I think Brad Keselowski had the highest finish of the pole sitter in the last 5 years earlier this year, which was a 10th place finish. So that is a little worrisome. But I mean, I've seen him run well here, and I mean this average finish at Darlington that incorporates that 39th place finish earlier this year. So he's ran really well here before that. So yeah, I think Chase Elliott looks like a solid option today. Not my favorite play up front, but he's still a good play. Ryan Blaney, 10,300 is someone I'm going to stay away from this week completely. This is not a good track for Ryan Blaney at all. 14th best average finish at Darlington, 11th best at steep tracks, 11th best at intermediates, and the 17th best average position at Darlington. 0 laps led. I hate this track. Is not good for him. He didn't run well here last year. Hasn't been running well in the past few weeks. Average finish 19.8, average position 12.4, 68 laps led's good, but yeah, I don't think Ryan Blaney is someone I want to get to at all. Kyle Busch starts 15th. He has the 5th best average finish at Darlington, 2nd best at steep tracks, and 3rd best at intermediates. We've seen Kyle Busch been absolutely great here in the past. Was in position to win the second one last time, and I think he finished 2nd. So yeah, but it's the rain. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. So yeah, in position to win that one. Kyle Busch just hasn't been great this year. He has 118 laps led at Darlington, which is the 3rd most in the field, I believe. Let me go look at Eric Jones. I don't think he has more. Oh, Eric Jones is right there. Never mind. Yeah, 3rd most in the field. Kyle Busch, 118 laps led at Darlington. He's been really good here in the past. Last 5 races, average finish of 12th, average position of 11.6, and 12 laps led. So he's been solid recently. Starts 15th, offers some place differential. I mean, maybe Kyle Busch finally hits his stride in the playoffs and finally does what we're used to seeing Kyle Busch do. So maybe this is the day to finally go get Kyle Busch. I'll have some exposure to him, but not one of my top plays. I mean, honestly, none of these guys, in my opinion, the stud plays who start up front, who you're going to want to lead laps, compare to Hamlin or Harvick, like, at all. I think those are the guys you go for. They're going to be the most popular, too. I mean, they have to be. The value's not great on the slate, but, yeah, it's still just Harvick and Hamlin, man. They're just so good. Logano, he has the 6th best average finish at Darlington, 4th best at steep tracks, 4th best at intermediates. But the thing that kind of concerns me is only 37 laps led here the last 3 years or whatever. So, yeah, I don't think Logano is someone I really want too much exposure to. I'll have some in tournaments, like just a little bit, but he's not like a good cash play. Has been running consistently in the last 5 races with an average finish of 7.2 and an average position of 9 and 34 laps led. So he's been running pretty solid, but starts 13th, has some place differential upside. But I mean, it's Logano. He could always win. Like, it's Joey Logano, one of the best drivers in NASCAR. No one's saying he can't win, but I just don't think this is a track where he goes out and dominates and leads a ton of laps. All right, Eric Jones. This is the tough one. This is the hardest. I mean, like, we've had Eric Jones chalk all year, and he's just killed us when he wrecks. But this is, like, Eric Jones' best track. I mean, he won this race like a year ago. He's in the last 3 years, 2nd best average finish at Darlington is Eric Jones. And it's weird because the other types of tracks, he's, like, okay, but Darlington's great. 3rd best average position at Darlington, too. It's not like he's just getting lucky at the end of the race and having good finishes. Like, he's running well in all of these races. And he has 106 laps led here last 2 years. He led, like, Eric Jones, how terrible he's been this year, led laps in the 2nd Darlington race earlier this year. Like, he's been bad this year. Like, we know he's been bad. Missed the playoffs. I think a lot of it is attributed to bad luck, but he's also had some bad runs. It's both. But Darlington, he ran well. So this is a track where Eric Jones, like, look, he's trying to get a ride for next year. He doesn't have a ride for 20 car next year. What better way to go prove yourself to teams that are looking for a ride, like, cough, the 48 car, by winning at Darlington. So this is a race where I think he can. I mean, he starts 30th too. He's 9,600. He's expensive, but he's just so good here. Like, I think he should get a top 10. He could get a top 5. He could win, and he could lead laps too. So I think it's a great play. I think he's someone I want to go to. I think it's gonna be chalky. I hope his price tag maybe keeps people off him. But man, do I want to play Eric Jones this week. This is the track where he's really good at. Hasn't been running well recently. Average finish is 16.6. Average position of 13.4. But I mean, it's just, this is like his track. Like, this is just his track. So I think Eric Jones is a very, very good play here, starting 30th. I know he's expensive, but honestly, I'd just rather play him than, like, Kyle Busch, Logano. Like, if we think Harvick or Hamlin leads just so many of these laps, I think Eric Jones ends up being a good play. Martin Truex Jr., 9,400, starting 6th. He's all right. 8th best average finish at Darlington, 5th best at steep tracks, 2nd best at intermediates, but this isn't really, like, a normal intermediate track. 46 laps led Darlington. Last few years is solid, but nothing special. Last 5 races, he does have an average finish of 2.6. I think he has like 10 straight top 5s. Maybe not 10. It's like 7 or 8 straight top 5s. He's been running really, really well in the past few weeks. Just hasn't got the win yet. So maybe he comes to Darlington. Wouldn't be shocking. I mean, it is Martin Truex Jr. We know how strong Gibbs is here. I mean, like, look, we already talked about it. Like, Denny Hamlin, great at Darlington historically. Maybe not as much recently. Or Kyle Busch, great at Darlington. Eric Jones, great at Darlington. Truex is pretty solid too, so they know what they're doing at this track. I think that he's a solid option at $9,400. And I mean, like, he's relatively cheap for Truex. He's not going to get a ton of ownership, so definitely someone who could lead laps. Like, I don't think anyone would be shocked if Martin Truex dominated and won this race at all. So definitely someone I want to get some exposure to. All right, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is 9,200 and he starts 29th. And I think this is going to be someone that a lot of people play. I'm not playing him. He's bad here, like really bad here. He's the 30th best average finish out of everybody at Darlington. He's bad. So actually, I think, yeah, he's bad. He's just really, really bad here. I don't want to play him at all. Like, yeah, he starts 29th, but he's also 9,200. If he started 29th and he was 6,000, I'd consider it. But at 9,200, no way. There's no way I'm playing that. If I'm playing for place differential up top, I'm paying 400 more for Eric Jones every single time. Like, every time. So I don't want to get any Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Kurt Busch, though, 9,000, 16th, one of my absolute favorite plays on the slate today. 4th best average finish at Darlington and the 7th best average position at Darlington. If we go look, he hasn't been running as well recently in the last 5 races, 17.4, 15.8, but he really needs to turn it around because I think he's definitely a candidate to get kicked out of the playoffs round 1. But Kurt Busch, he's run really well at this track in the past, and he starts 16th. I do want to get some Kurt Busch today. Brad Keselowski starts 5th, 8,800. He's too cheap. Like, we talked about Noah Gragson in the Xfinity Series video about how he's 8,800 and too cheap, but at least he started 14th. Or he started 14th, which is even worse. But, I mean, Keselowski's Brad Keselowski. Like, he shouldn't be cheaper than, wow, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kurt Busch, yeah, but wow, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he should not be cheaper than. 3rd best average finish at Darlington, won this race 2 years ago. Best average finish at steep tracks and fifth at intermediates. Best average position at Darlington. 130 laps led, which is the second most in the field. Yep, behind Harvick at Darlington. Very, very good here. Led a bunch. I think he led like 40 or 50 in the first Darlington race this year. So last 5 races, average finish of 14.2, average position of 11, 9 laps led. So Keselowski, in my opinion, has been the third best driver this year behind Hamilton and Harvick. He has, I think, the third most amount of wins. He's just been really, really consistent. So maybe 4th if you want to say Truex has been better. That's fine. But I think those are the top 4. And this is a track where he's really good at. And I think winning at Darlington would be a good way for him to kick off his playoffs. So he definitely is someone I want to get to. Austin Dillon's 8,600. Yeah, that scares me. Like, he was always someone I like. He's good at Darlington. Like, no doubt about that. 12th best average finish at Darlington. 8th best average finish at steep tracks, 14th at intermediates. Whew. But he's 8,600, so I don't want to get that. I mean, he's like priced at his ceiling, so I don't really want any Austin Dillon. He's just too expensive for me. That's what I'm saying. Like, DraftKings did pricing very aggressively this week. Jimmy Johnson, $8,400, starts 22nd. Not a good track for him really historically or recently. 25th best average finish last 3 years here, 22nd best average position. We did see in the first Darlington race, though, Jimmy Johnson was going to win stage 1, was leading in laps at the end of stage 1. He just wrecked himself on the last lap of the last stage. But Hendrick Motorsports cars back then to now have been completely different. No, they're not finding the speed at all. But Jimmy Johnson does offer some place differential upside. He could definitely have a top 10, and we know he wants to win a race so bad. So, didn't make the playoffs, but I don't think that's going to stop him from trying right now. Starts 22nd, he could get a top 10, top 15. So he is someone I'm interested in playing. I'd rather play him than Dillon. I'd rather play him than Almirola too, starting 10th, who hasn't really been running as great recently. 11th best average finish at Darlington, which is solid. But in the last 5 races, Almirola average finish of 14th, average position of 14.8. And Johnson, I didn't say that. Last 5 races, an average position finish of 7.4. These don't include Daytona. I took that out because it's Daytona, and it's just a disaster anyway. So, yeah, Eric Almirola been running, or Jimmy Johnson running really well. I think he is fine. Almirola, I just don't see a ton of upside there for him. I mean, yeah, he could get up front, but not what I'm really looking for. Clint Boyer, $8,100, starts 9th, 20th best average finish at Darlington, 5th best average position at Darlington. Last 5 races, average finish at 12.2, average position at 9.4. I think he's fine, and I think he has upside because it is Clint Boyer. It's another guy I think is a candidate to get bounced in the first round. He has been running well at Darlington recently, but he is still someone I think is an interesting play because no one's going to play him at all, and he does have some upside. So I think he's an interesting option to play in tournaments, but not someone I want to get a ton of exposure to. All right, Alex Bowman, William Byron. Well, I guess they're two completely different plays, honestly. I just kind of grouped them together because we're starting together, but Bowman starts 4th. He's good here. 13th best average finish at Darlington. He led a bunch of laps and finished 2nd in the first Darlington race earlier this year, and he was having a really good run at Darlington the second race, and I think he had I don't remember what it was. I think he might have had a pit penalty, and he got thrown back, and he finished 15th. But he was a top 5 car that race too, and I know they haven't been running well, but this is a good track for him, and he needs to turn his season around. Starting 4th, no one's playing him. He has upside. 41 laps led Darlington last 2 years. That's all one race, but still. Last 5 races have not been good for Bowman. 19th best average finish, 19 average finish 19, average position 17.4 haven't been great, but I still think he does offer you some upside that no one's going to play. If you're playing a ton of tournament lineups, I'm getting some Alex Bowman in some of those. I'm throwing him in some. He's cheap too. He could be a cheap dominator play, and honestly, so could William Byron. This is another guy this track has been good to him. We saw him though running in the top 4, or I think he might have been 2nd. He was 2nd or 3rd place in the first Darlington, or second Darlington. No, it was the first Darlington race this year, and he wrecked out. So I understand, and so his average finishes don't look good. 25.75, 26th best average finish at Darlington last 2 years is not good. But he's been running really well in the last few weeks. Average finish at 13.2, average position at 13.2 in the last few races, 1 lap led. And we saw him win last week at Daytona. He won at Daytona, his first win, big win for him in his career. That's a big win here too, because I actually go to Liberty, so they won. I'm actually wearing a shirt today, so that's interesting. Didn't even plan that, but it was a big win for him. Really excited for him. He's kind of one of my favorite, if not my favorite driver in NASCAR right now. So I'm happy to see him win that race, and he's been running really good. They've been looking decently fast, running top 10 runs. We saw him lead laps at Kentucky, Kansas, my bad. So he's definitely shown the speed recently. Will he get up front and lead laps? Probably not, but could he hang and get a top 5? Yeah, for sure. And he could lead laps. I mean, he is still in a fast car. I mean, it's still a Hendrick Motorsports car, and he's kind of been trending upwards past few weeks, so maybe he's just primed for a blow up in the playoffs. I'm not saying he's gonna win, but maybe win the playoffs, but maybe win a race here or two, maybe win a race in it, make it to like the top 8 or something. So I mean, yeah, William Byron looks like a good play here. Cole Custer starts 14th. I don't want Cole Custer. He has just not been running well, and he's bad here. 28th best average finish at Darlington. Last 5 races, average position of 20.4. He's not someone I want to get to. Matty D starts 11th. He made the playoffs. I'm really happy for him too. Another driver I'm really happy to see finally sneak his way into the playoffs. He has 15th best average finish at Darlington, and that's pretty good because that's not in, like, most of those finishes are, well, half of them are in the 95 car, which is not good equipment. So to see him have that is pretty solid. He had a top 10, I think, last year in that 95 at Darlington. It was top 10 or top 15, one of those two. Had a good run. He was in one of those optimal lineups. In the last 5 races, he's been running pretty well. An average finish of 14.8, average position of 14.2, and 28 laps led. So he could theoretically get in the top 10, and I wouldn't be surprised. He's going to be a really good play. Someone I definitely want to have some exposure to, especially because Ryan Newman's probably just going to be chalky. He has 17th best average finish at Darlington. He starts 31st. In the last 5 races, Ryan Newman has an average finish of 20.6 and an average position of 22. Isn't great, but like he starts 31st. If he can get inside that top 20, he's going to be a good play. If he can get inside the top 15, it's going to be a great play. So definitely someone to have some exposure on. He's had a rough year, so he's trying to look for a good finish here. Tyler Reddick, though, $7,000 is my favorite play on the whole slate. Well, I guess outside of like Harvick, but I love Tyler Reddick today. I love him. This is the track he's so good at. Like, Tyler Reddick has been so good at just riding around the wall. That is his best strength in NASCAR by far. And so we see tracks where this is a high groove track. You do not run low here often. Running around the high groove is the way to go at Darlington, and he is so good at it. 10th, he has an average finish of 10 in 2 races here. 6th best in the field. Didn't make the playoffs. Starts 24th. Offers place differential upside. Last 5 races, not great. Average finish at 18.2, average position at 18.6, but this is a track where he does well at. He'll probably be chalky. I don't really care. I want Tyler Reddick a ton. He's good at this track, and I think he should be able to get top 10. So we'll see if he can push for a top 5. Christopher Bell, $6,900, starts 21st. He's someone I definitely like to get to, too. He has the 16th best average finish at Darlington, which is only 2 races, so we've seen him run pretty solid here. Starts 21st. Like, he's going to be a lower owned than Reddick, so he's someone I definitely want to have some exposure to. I think can have a good run. Same thing with Bubba Wallace. Starts 17th, 6,700. Both of them could have solid runs and are going to be lower owned than Reddick. So if either one of those guys finishes in the top 10 and Reddick doesn't, you're going to want to have those guys instead. So I think Bubba's a fine option. Matt Kenseth is 6,500. This is like the first video I think I've ever said I want to play Matt Kenseth, like ever. I think I've done how many Cup Series videos this summer, and I don't think I've ever said I want to play Matt Kenseth except for today. I actually want to play Matt Kenseth. He's $6,500. He starts 26th, and earlier this year we saw him finish, I think, 10th or 11th in that first Darlington race. He just has place differential upside, which usually he doesn't, and he's not expensive. He's $6,500 starting 26th. I actually want to play Matt Kenseth today. This is not a bad play, in my opinion. I think this is a solid option, just from the place differential upside and the fact that we saw him run well earlier this year. Michael McDowell starts 19th. He just starts too high for me, $6,400. I mean, yeah, he could get a top 15, but I don't really want to chase that. John Hunter Nemechek. All right, John Hunter Nemechek in the first Darlington race had the best, it wasn't the best finish of his career. He finished really good at Talladega. But he finished 9th at Darlington. And in the next race, he wrecked like 10 laps in. So his average sucks. But he's still someone I think he's going to get owned, man. Because he had that 9th place finish. He just doesn't offer us a ton of place differential upside. So he's just not someone I really, really want to get to. Ty Dillon, though, I do like at 6,000. Starts 25th. He's ran well here. Finished 19th in that first Darlington race earlier this year, and I think he had engine issues the second one. Has the 18th best average finish at Darlington, so that's good. He's been running pretty well. Average finish at 21.6 in the last 5, and average position at 23. And Ryan Preece right below him is going to be super chalky, ridiculously chalky. So I think that Ty Dillon is someone that could be a nice pivot off of him and could end up being a solid play. Ryan Preece starts 35th. I mean, hasn't not really that good, not great here. Hasn't run particularly well in the last few races, but he starts 35th and he's 5,900, so he's a good play. Probably gets you a top 25, and that's going to do it for you in that one. Chris Buescher starts 20th, 5,700. I don't know, man. 19th best average finish at Darlington. Last 5 races, he's got an average finish 15, which is actually pretty good, an average position at 18.8. I think he's someone to take some shots on, but he's not someone I would like hold my hat on. And then Corey LaJoie starts 27th. He has an average finish in the last 5 of 25.6. I think he's a solid play too, because I don't think he's going to get a ton of ownership. So both these guys down here are some interesting ownership plays, but that's really it. And then, we never play any of these guys ever. Like, even Ross Chastain down there is in a bad car. Don't play any of them. But yeah, I think that's really all I got to say on this video. I hope you guys got a lot of good information. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. All those things really help me out, help me grow a lot. Trying to just keep growing, trying to hit 200 subscribers this week. So make sure I hit 200 subscribers this weekend on NASCAR. Yeah, like seriously, guys, hit that subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Make some money in NASCAR. And we got NFL coming up next week. Stay tuned because we have NFL next week. Thank you guys so much for watching.